So Elon Musk is doing amazing work in D.C. at the behest of and direction of President Donald Trump, and you love to see it. He he uh, he tweeted out, Clay, that USAID has been fed into the wood chipper, which is another just the imagery. But it's important that this all happens and that the federal government is put on notice that the old way is not going to be the way under Donald Trump. Things are changing, and it's even tough to keep up with the changes. By the way, we will update you with anything on the confirmation of RFK Jr. and Tulsi Gabbard as more information comes out about that. Looking good for them, looking good for Kash Patel, but we are keeping an eye on that as we do the show today. But AOC, she's like really smart, and like she does not think that like Elon, Mr. like, ooh, space rockets, like silly little bumper cars, man. She does not think that Elon Musk is impressive. And here is the great future hope of the Democrat Party, Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez.
This dude is probably one of the most unintelligent billionaires I have ever met or seen or witnessed. Which, you can probably even glean that from watching these people on TV. Anyways, all of that is to say is that they don't do their homework. Clearly, they're putting 19-year-olds in at the Treasury. This dude is not smart. And the danger in the lack of intelligence and the lack of expertise that Elon has. I mean, this guy is one of the most morally vacant, but also just least knowledgeable about these systems that we really know of.
Clay, how dumb do you have to be to go in public and say that Elon Musk is dumb? You could say a lot of things, but dumb is just not one of the things you can say.
I kind of blown away by it. I mean, AOC, this might be, there's a lot, we got a bunch of clips of people saying really stupid things on the Democrat side, but to argue that the guy who is, we talked about this a little bit yesterday, Buck, but if anything, I think it's being under-analyzed and discussed. We talk about the historical record. Somebody called in, I think, or sent us an email and said he's a modern-day Benjamin Franklin. I don't think that's a crazy idea. You can make the argument that Elon Musk is the most accomplished American of all time right now. And some of you out there are going to say, wow, he's sending rocket ships to space more efficiently than NASA. He has redesigned the way that a car is propelled. People don't even talk about it. He's building tunnels, Buck, that are like the greatest tunnels that have ever been built.
The Boring Company, which is a clever name, yes.
Yeah, he has bought Twitter and committed it to First Amendment principles while also building a brand new AI company that is built to some extent off of the data coming from that. And he now is deciding, hey, I'm going to look at the books on the federal government. And it reminds me a little bit, you read and I read the book and I also watched it, the movie The Big Short. And
of course.
The way that those guys made money was they were like, well, what are these mortgage-backed securities? And they're like, well, they're actually just a collection of, hundreds or thousands of mortgages.
Michael Burry, who is the kind of the central figure really in The Big Short, has Asperger's.
Yes.
And Asperger's, as part of that condition, I remember reading about this in the book, you can often have people who will become very fixated. It could be like a specific card game, or it could be, I don't know, any number of different things. But he became fixated on mortgage-backed securities and actually read the things that nobody else would read.
Literally no one else would read it. He's sitting there looking at, okay, well, they're like, the risk is lower because it's a mortgage-backed security. We're putting hundreds or thousands of them into these offerings. And nobody's actually looking and seeing like, okay, what are these actual mortgages? How connected are they? And his big bet, which panned out, was that they were all connected and there was going to be a mortgage crash.
Can I also point out that he has been unbelievably wrong about the stock market constantly, it seems, in public since the big short. Since his incredible moment of genius, he has basically been horribly wrong on a lot of big things.
Which actually makes sense, because pessimists can be wrong about one big thing very often, but optimists tend to win. And basically, when you short something, you are saying, "Hey, I am pessimistic." There is not that mindset, that contrarian mindset, often ends up being wrong.
You are borrowing shares to sell with the idea that it will go down, the stock will go
Yes.
down, or the market will go down, and you can buy it back at a later date under a contract. Yes.
And so he made a ton of money there. He's lost a lot since. But my point on using that as an example is he actually went into the mortgage securities and looked and said, okay, what are these made up of? And that, in essence, is what Elon is doing right now in the government.
Yes.
Because a lot of people just say, okay, well, the budget is $964 billion for this company. And then they break it, or this part of the government, and then they break it out by saying 24% goes here. And Elon actually said, okay, where are the actual ledgers? What is the accounting of the $964 billion? Who's signing off on these checks? Where is the money actually going? And most people never even ask, Buck.
USAID has a $43 billion budget, everybody. $43 billion. It is operating as though it is entirely unaccountable to the rest of the executive branch. It is not a congressionally constituted agency. It is a Jimmy Carter idea, as if anything else needs to be said. And we just operate in this world of, oh, well, because it now exists, it exists forever. I mean, Clay, $40 billion is a lot of money. I mean, you know, this is, no matter who you are, that is an astonishing amount of funds to be wasting. I mean, I'm just taking a look right now. Anyone want to guess what Border Patrol's budget is? Border Patrol, I want you to just think in your head. USAID gets $40 billion. Clay, what do you think Border Patrol gets?
Oh, man. I legit $60 billion? $100 billion?
$7 billion.
That's pretty crazy.
For Border Patrol. The FDNY, the Fire Department of New York, has like a $2 or $3 billion budget. Our entire Border Patrol gets $7 billion. This is the 2024 budget, everybody. And USAID gets $40 billion.
Yeah,
now,
that's
you
pretty
could say
crazy.
the world is a big place, but what matters to us more, everyone?
$7 billion is crazy, Buck. Roughly, that would mean, I think I'm correct in this, that basically a lot of, like, the NFL teams spend more money to pay NFL players than we do to actually secure the border. Like that
the entire NFL payroll may be bigger than what we pay for the border. Yeah,
but doesn't that sound crazy to you? Like, I mean, when you think about that is a staggeringly low to me sum to be. I mean that is unbelievable, especially when you consider what the cost of the failure to do it is, right? Because whatever you spend on the protection of the border, that I'm in disbelief.
I have been very impressed with Mr. Saquon Barkley's runs lately, though. To be fair, he's been doing a phenomenal job. So those gentlemen on the NFL are earning their money. I just think it's funny too. I only know about the Super Bowl because people have asked me what you think about the Super Bowl. So I appreciate the reminder on that one. They're like, "What does Clay think about the Super Bowl?"
I'm excited to get down to New Orleans tomorrow. I just saw President Trump is going to go to the game, which should be good. Obviously, New Orleans still recovering from the 14. It's amazing how quickly some stories vanish. Democrats talked about January 6th for 4 years plus now. The terror attack in New Orleans, like it never happened, right? I mean, 14 people killed 3 a.m.-ish on Bourbon Street, New Orleans, a place that many of you have been to, just happened a month ago. Super Bowl is going to be there now. It's like it never happened. There's like those 14 people. Now, I think Fox will do a good job drawing attention to them. I'm sure one reason President Trump is going is to help honor the memories of those that were lost there. But deadly terror attack happens on Bourbon Street, 14 people dead. It's like most people have already forgotten about it, moved on.
So bringing us back to the cutting of government expense here for a second, someone else who has the writ of Trump to go and do what he needs to do is Lee Zeldin, who you remember, a congressman from New York, made a pretty impressive, unsuccessful, but nonetheless impressive run for the governor's mansion in New York, formerly my home state. He's the head of the EPA. This is cut 20. What's it like at the EPA these days? Here is what the workforce is up to. Play 20.
I think it's important for our team to be showing up. I was just briefed yesterday that on Mondays and Fridays, the EPA headquarters was averaging about 5 to 8% capacity. I mean, think about how low that number is. We need people in the office collaborating, working together. We need to be productive and efficient. As far as ramping up efforts on the ground, right now in Los Angeles, EPA has just launched what is the largest wildfire cleanup in the history of the EPA. But I think it's very important that we have our team here in headquarters and in the regions showing up, working hard, and making the American public proud.
I just say, Clay, 5 to 8% of EPA workers show up on Mondays and Fridays. So every weekend at the EPA is like a super long holiday week. Every weekend is a long weekend. Think about this gig for a moment. Does anyone think these EPA workers are sitting at home, locked at a desk, just poring over reports and saving the clean water and stopping the climate change? Scam.
All of it. All of it.
8% are showing up. You know how many people you probably need at the EPA? About 8%.
Probably so. And by the way, you know who a huge percentage of the 8% is? Security. When you actually strip out the security guards,
physical presence,
and
janitors,
people who are actually doing work to make the job doable. By the way, I just saw a graphic. USAID gives $3 billion a year to the BBC. The BBC, like, what are we doing here? I mean, this is
what you've seen, and this is why this is brilliant. This is a brilliant maneuver by the Trump administration and Elon operating under Trump's umbrella here. Clay, USAID has been operating as a slush fund for left-wing ideology around the world for decades, really, but certainly in recent years and under Biden. And now that we're uncovering this, the Democrats are in a tough position, Clay, because they're upset because the slush fund might be going away. But how much do they really want to try to explain to? You can't be telling me, as Chuck Schumer is, look at the price of eggs. You can't be complaining about the price of eggs and saying that we need $3 billion for, DEI transgender awareness workshops in Slovenia.
I was, and I said it on the show, skeptical that Elon would stay that committed to the U.S. government for very long because I thought he would get frustrated. I think what he's finding is that it's far more fraud-riddled and corrupt than even he thought it was, and that now his like, man, there's a lot of hay to be made here, right? There is a lot of work that can be done on behalf of the American people, and I'm actually super optimistic about how this is going 15 days in so far. Rapid Radios makes modern-day walkie-talkies let you talk to anyone nationwide with the push of a button. These aren't like walkie-talkies you grew up with. Remember those back in the day? You run around outside, pretend you were G.I. Joe. But they're just as fun. They work across the country on a nationwide LTE network, so you can connect with anybody anywhere in the continental United States. Signal will grab a hold of any cell tower network close by, connect you immediately. If you're in Asheville, for instance, you can connect with a single button push to someone in Boston, for example. Remember when the awful Hurricane Helene happened in Asheville, Buck's sister-in-law was there. His father-in-law was able to get in touch and communicate from these radios. We have them charged in the Travis house, no telling when they might be necessary. Hope that there isn't any sort of calamity that we would need them for, but we have them charged and ready to go. Great technology, easy to use, whether it's for getting in touch with your kids, maybe you don't want to give them a cell phone yet because of all the action that they can get into, all the activities that they can get into on a cell phone. Can't get into that with Rapid Radios. Maybe you got aging parents and they just don't like cell phones very much. They don't use them very well. Get hooked up right now. Go to rapidradios.com, 60% off, free UPS shipping from Michigan, plus a free protection bag Add code radio for an extra 5% off. Rapid Radio walkie-talkies, 5-day charge. They're ready to go out of the box. RapidRadios.com, code radio.